Come here, little one. Gather around the quarantine fire and I shall tell you a story. Tell you a story of my bad LSD trips and how Captain Trips led me out of my own prison and seeking God. Yes, not directly, but I've told the story in the past, but I thought it might actually make a good video. So I was a pretty wild teenager, chased a lot of butts when I was in high school. And one night we decided we would get some tabs of the LSD. So my friend Clint, I don't even know how, but somehow he talked to some Memphis thought who could get a hold of these tabs. And to my amazement, she did. And we had planned to do this later that evening at a safe setting, right? Set and setting. And we were going to experience this, what I thought would be basically just the next level of a kind of weed experience. If you have ever smoked the drug weed, then you know that it can be mild, it can be a little intense, depending upon how strong, right? But what I was going to experience is nothing compared to what I had in mind. I thought it was going to be like, well, it's going to be a little stronger than weed, right? And I'm going to see some, patterns or something like this, and that'll be really neat. But it was going to be what actually happened was way more intense. So I thought this would make for a good story. Now we told this on a boiler room many, many years ago, but I thought it might make for a good video, especially during this time, right, when everybody's sequestered and you have nothing better to do than to watch video clips of me telling you bad trip stories. So we started at the movie theater. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. I think when you're a teenager, you're no impulse controls, right? Or at least I didn't. And the small town where I lived, we only had 2 theaters. So there was some kid movie. Probably would have been better to do the kid movie, but I don't know why we chose Grumpier Old Men with Walter Matthau. So a bunch of old people's faces. That itself is not ideal for an acid trip. Nevertheless, we did. And as we were sitting in the movie theater, movie theaters have pretty intricate patterns on the carpets. The beginning of the movie, the trailers, it was funny. You start giggling a little bit. And, start noticing the patterns kind of moving a little bit on the floor. That dingy movie theater carpet looks really fascinating all of a sudden, right? So the most dingy, disgusting, filth-ridden carpets are now the most fascinating thing you've ever seen, right? And then the movie theater, the curtains on the wall start breathing, right? I could handle all that. That was all right. But for some reason, I started thinking as I looked around the movie theater, and that night it was all the parents, the entire boomerdom of parenthood of my small town. I was on the front row looking up at me. Well, this freaked me out. I don't know why in my head I started thinking that they all knew what I was doing. I don't know why I thought that we were just idiot teenagers in a movie theater. So I asked my friend, hey, Clayton, can you drive us home? Can we get out of here? I just can't. I can't deal with it anymore. And nicely, Mr. Clayton acquiesced to this request. He was like, okay, I'll take you. So as we were leaving the movie theater, there was ice outside. It had snowed, and I remember the little ice droplets started sort of running away. As I walked toward them, the light that was hitting the ice droplets made it look like they were running away. So I thought, this is okay. Maybe I can handle this. And then, of course, when you start to have a bad trip, naturally your friends always aid in that bad trip by making it worse, don't they? And what did they choose to put on the CD? Revolution Number 9 by the Beatles. So here I'm going into total Manson mode of what is this talking about? Is this talking about me? This crazy stuff. Not really, but number nine. I was like, what is going on? And I noticed the the traffic lights, they were spitting out rainbows. Like every traffic light was like a grid of rainbow. Like something from a, I don't know, gay matrix. It was the gay matrix grid that I was seeing. Welcome to the gay grid, Neo. Do you want the pink pill or the fuchsia pill? And I remember we went and the Matrix had, that was around the time the Matrix had come out. So maybe I knew about the Matrix. It was right around the time the Matrix coming out. Anyway, so we got to the party house, flop house. And I was starting to freak out bad because I was seeing the stoplights in reverse. Like anytime I would see words, it was in reverse. So I was like, I have gone into freaking upside down world, right? I literally thought, in my mind, I was like, how did I go into another dimension? And I remember my buddy telling this story, which again made it worse. He was like, man, did you know that like David Gilmour can't even talk? All he can do is hold a cup and play a guitar. He's done that much acid. So in my mind, I was like, oh, dude, I've gone into the David Gilmour dimension. All I can do now is hold cups and I can't even play guitar. So shit. Right. Yeah. So we got to the flop house. We were partying. I saw a chick who would be a future butt I would chase successfully. She would become a future girlfriend of mine. And this was the part that really scared me, is that there was a sequence where she came into the room. She was playing pool. There was a pool table there. Other people were there. And then I saw all of this in reverse. And that's when I really got freaked out. I was like, okay, I have gone into the TARDIS. Doctor Who, I somehow stepped into it. I was thinking, like, did I go into a TARDIS? Like, am I in the other dimension somehow? I'm in upside down, backwards world. I was seeing things in reverse as like, you know, the lodge of Twin Peaks. Like, I'm going to see the little dancing midget, right? Oh, yeah, want some coffee? Wow, Bob, wow. And then I blacked out. I blacked out in the bathroom for, I think, 4 hours. And I did continue to have experiences, although the only thing I recall is I sort of out of body. And when I was out of body, I saw this point of light. It was like a beam of light, and it like spoke. I don't recall what this experience was, but I interacted with, I experienced some kind of light entity. At that time, I didn't really have a framework for how to make sense of that or explain it. Of course, now I do, but it was something from the angelic realm. I don't think it was a good angel, unless, you know, I have this backwards, but you know, maybe I was being put back in my body because I had this out of body experience. I thought I was dying. Regardless, for the next several hours, I laid in the dark. Eventually found my way back to my body, my meat machine. And gradually through music, ironically, that I hate. I cannot stand the Grateful Dead. Living on pills, vitamin K, and cocaine. Vitamin C. Living on pills, vitamin C, and cocaine. Trucking. Got my chips. For some reason, though, the Grateful Dead, I don't remember which song it was. It did calm me down. So it does, I guess it does have that effect. I have no interest in Grateful Dead music at all. But I will say that it calmed me down. And Strawberry Fields Forever also helped calm me down. Picture yourself on a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade sky. So I started thinking, a tangerine tree and a marmalade sky. That sounds fun. So I calmed down. So, yeah, shout out to your, thank you. Tell your dad there. Thank you for that. Anyway, so, and I was in this other dimension. I talked to this light being, I come back, gradually things start moving back to like, you know, beginning, middle, end, and not end, middle, beginning. Things aren't reversed anymore. But I started thinking, hey, I wonder if that's how, I didn't even know about any of the esoteric stuff at the time, right? I mean, I always like weird stuff, but I remember thinking, I wonder if that's how shamans, you know, see the future? Like, do they see things in reverse? And then they, I don't know. I'm not claiming that I saw the future, but I'm just wondering if, that was kind of in my mind. It was like, is that how they do this kind of stuff? Is that how it works? I don't know. But regardless, eventually I came back into the right frame of mind, and you have like the whole next day, because you can't sleep, right? Where you're still in this like, whoa, man, I'm so deep right now, man. You think you've solved the world, right? Everybody has this solve the world experience typically when they have a really intense or bad trip, sometimes a really intense, quote, good trip. And like a fool, I don't know, I was such an idiot. I continued, right, to do this multiple more times, not a whole lot, maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 more times after that, not too many, which was idiotic. And there were some other bad, but at the same time hilarious experiences, which involved a couple of black chicks doing a rendition of what was supposed to be a Neil Simon play, which turned into their own rendition called Pickle with a Bone in It. So maybe I'll tell that story another time, but that was funny. Anyway, I played a prank on my friend with Pickle and a Bone in It as a duo interpretive comedy skit. We were at a drama tournament, but that's a story for another time. But in this case, this bad trip did stick with me. It was definitely something unexpected. It was way more intense than I experienced, and that's why I would not ever, ever, ever recommend people do these kinds of things. These things are just like playing Russian roulette with your psyche. Now, I believe that it is opening up the spiritual realm. You are tapping into the psychosphere, to use the Matthew McConaughey terminology, and that can be a very dangerous thing. It's at the same time as you're turning inward into the inner spiritual state of where you are, you're going to be forced to confront things that can step through, right? I didn't talk to any clockwork elves, but I did interact with some kind of being of light. Now, looking back, I would say that was something angelic, that was demonic. I would say that was, Lucifer comes as an angel of light. I'm not saying it was Lucifer. I'm just saying it was something demonic. Because usually it leaves you with a spirit of pride. Most people who come back from these trips or going to see Smoking the Joe Rogan, and they go and they see the Clockwork Elves, they come back and they think that they have talked to, these demigods or these beings, these avatars that are going to save the planet through, Depop or whatever. Row one, dude, row one. Oh, really? So you really enlightened that you come back with the worldview of every ancient religion, that we're all one, right? So monism is the big revelation that you got from this, which is what basically all the ancient pagan religions taught. Give me a break, right? Hinduism is way older than your acid trip, bro. So I would not ever recommend people do these things. I think that they forcibly open us up to spiritual realities that we may not be ready for. And there's no shortcuts to enlightenment. You see, this is the mistake, because I wasn't seeking enlightenment per se. We were just kind of having fun, but I was always open to the possibility of these more philosophical ideas. Maybe we can, get a deeper insight into reality through these things and all this stuff. And really what it does is it opens you up to the spiritual influence of spiritual entities. So that is what initially kind of kicked me off into thinking, well, maybe there are other dimensions, spiritual realities, which I do think is correct. And thankfully, I didn't hopefully lose my mind. Hopefully, I am sane. I will ask the YouTube audience to decide and confirm if I am sane or insane. Perhaps I am insane in the membrane, but I don't think so. I think that in God's providence, all this wasn't what I would recommend. It's not necessary. In this case, it did prompt me to move in the direction of seeking out religious truths, seeking out this long journey of beginning to read the Bible. Eventually, I quit doing these things. Wasn't interested, lost all interest in any kind of hallucinogenic, intense thing. I don't think is necessary. It's very dangerous. Could there be applications of these substances? Sure. I think that they're there for a reason. I don't discount the possibility of that for maybe really extreme cases of people with hardcore addictions, alcohol, or this kind of stuff. That's entirely possible. I don't discount that, but I don't claim to know. However, I just think these things are very dangerous, and they should not be done willy-nilly. And I would not recommend anybody do these things. That's my advice from my own experience. Not trying to keep you from stuff. I just think it's dangerous, right? So that got me reading the Bible. That got me taking philosophy and spirituality more serious. I mean, it took me many years to kind of mature out of a lot of the immaturity that surrounds this drug stuff. But again, it did end up having a positive effect, and it's not necessary though for you. So just because some people have had their minds open to these kinds of other dimensions, it doesn't follow that that's the way that we achieve enlightenment, because there are no shortcuts. And in fact, most of the time, these experiences leave us with this inflated, undue sense of pride, which is a mark of a false spiritual experience, right? So anyway, thank you. I hope you enjoyed my trip story. I'll tell my bad trip story part 2, which is about pickle with a bone in it, which is a classic story, some other time. But if you like this video, like, share, comment, subscribe below, and tell me what you think.